welcome back. Bruce Porter joins us now for this week's Dollars and Cents. Good to see you.
Nice to be here.
You had a nice day off yesterday?
Yeah, good weekend.
A lot of yard work.
A lot of yard
really
work.
Have a day off?
Yeah. Come back to work so I can relax.
Yeah, I know. If only. All right, we're going to take a look at today's financial question. Here it is. My husband and I are soon to be divorced. Do you have any tips for the financial aspects of his 401k, of which I will be receiving half of the proceeds? Okay, so any tips to sort all of this out regarding the 401k? I have about 1 million questions. Is this typical? Does this need to be lined out in advance? I suppose a prenup might answer all of the above. And do you wait until retirement time to get it? How does this work?
Well, it's a very common thing. Unfortunately, a lot of people get divorced.
Sure.
So if you've been working a few years, you've got some money saved up in your qualified retirement plans, and now we're going to split the sheets. So usually through what they call a qualified domestic order or a property settlement
And these are just the legal document.
Right,
Yeah.
legal documents that the court's going to hand down after they've evaluated everything. And now they say, I tell you what, we're just going to split your 401k half and half. We're going to split the bank accounts, yada, all that stuff. All right.
Okay.
So now let's say that you're going to be receiving this 401k. Now, it's very important to understand the tax consequences if you take a distribution. It's going to be treated just like you're the qualified person. So, so now you're getting divorced. There's lots of things for us to discuss, but you need to understand that if you're under age 59 and a half and you take distribution, you're not only going to have tax consequences, but you're also going to have the 10% tax penalty for early distribution. So ideally, you transfer that proceeds over to an IRA in your name. Now, once you get that in your name, now everything applies to you as applies to everyone else with an IRA. The 59 and a half rule applies. You're eligible to make contributions to that if you have earned income. It's deferred until you touch it.
So it's still an IRA or a 401k.
No.
If you put it into an IRA.
Right, it transfers to an IRA. Now, the tool that you use to fund that IRA is very important. So in order to pick the tool, you need to not only be very careful about what you do, but if you're not financially savvy, let's say the other half of the marriage was the more financial one, and now all of a sudden you've got all this money, you need to establish what are your goals, your objectives and priorities, and that way you can determine what kind of a tool do I want to use. Do I want to use risk-based tools? Do I want to use conservative tools? You can sort that out by getting some help. Now, there's more important things that you also need to be aware of. When you're divorced, you need a copy of your divorce decree because you're going to need it in the future. You need a copy of that, what they call the QDRO or the QDRO, the Qualified Domestic Relations Order. You need to keep a copy of that. Property settlement agreement, you need to keep a copy of that. Very important that you immediately close all of your joint accounts. You don't want their liability and their exposure to affect your credit.
Right.
So if you have a joint mortgage, you're going to need to obtain a release from that. You're going to need to do some financial planning with aspects to like a HELOC, a line of credit. You want to make sure you're off of that and things like that. It's a little complicated, and usually the best advice is to try to get somebody to help you figure it all out.
Get somebody in there that can help you do that. So that's interesting though, because if someone has had that 401k during the course of their career, the other spouse may have never had a 401k.
That's right.
So boom, all of a sudden they have one and may not have the slightest idea what it is or what to do with it.
That's right. A lot of the mistakes that are made as far as it's not an inheritance, but a transfer of this 401k is they think, okay, I'm going to take that qualified money and I'm going to use that to reduce my part of my debt that I've taken, and I'm going to take some of that money out to live on or to establish myself.
Right.
and they kind of forget about the tax consequences. And if they're younger, not only have that, but they've got that huge penalty as well. So it's a very common mistake people make when they're receiving that. So it's very important to understand the tax aspects. You should get a copy of your last 3 years' tax returns that you filed jointly, so that when you go to prepare your taxes, you're going to have that as well. So in order to fall back on as far as filing. So,
And at tax time, if you don't have it, you'll probably wish you did.
well, and you probably don't want to go back and ask the other side of the equation, hey, I need a copy of this, I need a copy of that. If you're wanting to make a clean break, then you need to make a list of things that you need, and you need to make that clean break and make sure you keep your documents in order.
The original holder of that 401k, does that person's have just keep on keeping on, for lack of a
Yeah,
better
they
word?
can, let's say they stay employed and they're still
Same
contributing.
job, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, the court order is what goes to the administrator of that side, which allows the release of half of those proceeds
Got
based
it.
on a certain date. They'll chop it in half and they'll transfer it. And then, using a qualified or a person that knows what they're doing with those transfers, they'll put it properly into an IRA account. Very, very, very important.
Important to know before you start doing something or just take that cash, know what the penalties are, because it's a ton.